All right. So if you do have your blocks, just place them off at the front of your mat. So on Tuesday, we looked at the spine and the different ways that the spine moves. We're going to kind of build on that class. In this class today, I'm going to combine some yin tight poses at the beginning of class, and then we'll move into more of a vinyasa style, so yin and ven. And when we move into the vinyasa style, we're just going to kind of repeat the same sequence several times. And I'm going to give you the option to kind of go at your own pace as we kind of move more into it and you get used to doing the practice. So we're going to start, as we often do in my classes, on your back. So go ahead and come back down onto your back. And to begin with, if it's more comfortable for your back, for your knees to be bent. Sometimes I feel like when I recline on my back right away with the legs straight, there's a little stiffness in my lower back. So if it helps to have your knees bent, feet wide, allowing your knees to rest in towards each other, you can take that option, or you can go ahead and extend your legs long. And just taking a moment to settle in. Shifting to find an equal amount of weight on both sides of your hips and shoulders. Noticing if your pelvis is in neutral. So do the hip points at the front of your hips point straight up, or do you feel them tilt slightly forward, lifting your low back way off the floor, or slightly upward, pressing your low back into the floor? You want to find where your low back is in neutral. So if you were to slide your hand under your low back, there would be a slight space for your hand. And bring your hands to the bottom of your rib cage, placing heels of the hands on the outside of the rib cage, fingers resting gently on the front of your rib cage. Just noticing where the ribs kind of set naturally. And just encouraging that slight drawing in of your rib cage and slightly down. And then once you have that, releasing any tension. The space across the front of the front of the collarbones is wide. So shoulders aren't pressing flat to the floor, but you can feel them rest towards the floor. Chin is drawing in towards the neck and up towards the throat, creating length on the back of your neck. And release any tension you feel in your neck, your shoulders, your jaw. Allowing your mind to come to your breath. So feeling as you inhale the breath pass through the nostrils. So cool air passing in through the nostrils. As you exhale, warm, moist air coming out through your nostrils. And following the breath down deep into the bottom of the lungs. Feeling the rib cage extend out towards the heels of your hands. So the sides of the rib cage expand rather than the front of the rib cage. The front of the rib cage will expand as well, but in kind of because the sides of the rib cage expand. And lightening your breath so you're not over breathing, just kind of a natural in and out. And slowly extend the legs long to the ground if they are not already. So coming into more of a traditional Shavasana. And just take toes pointing up, heels reaching towards the front edge of your mat. Just take a few breaths, still feeling the ribs expand outward. And then reach the arms up beside your ears. And if the hands can't come to the floor with the elbows straight, just allow the elbows to bend so that you can rest the arms on the floor, hands above your head. Notice if the front of the rib cage is kind of flared open. And again, bring the breath into the sides of the rib cage. And bring your right hand out to the side, out to the right a little bit more. Take your right ear towards your right shoulder so you can either slide it on the ground or maybe lift it up. Scooting your shoulders over so you're making a slight C curve in your upper body. And maybe this is where you're comfortable. Maybe you can reach the left hand and grab your left fingers with your right hand, kind of encouraging more of that C curve in your side body, the right side body. And then gently allow the head to fall towards your right arm. Take your right leg out to the side, so increasing that C curve. And then maybe crossing left shin over, or left calf over your right shin. Relax any tension you feel in your shoulders, in your neck, in your jaw. And bring awareness to your breath again. So in this position, we feel more of the breath expanding into the left side of your rib cage. So just notice that. Avoiding the tendency to overbreathe. Just feel the breath go deep into the lungs, finding that natural expansion of the side rib. And a soft, long release, light release of your exhalation. This is our spine and lateral flexion, so that's side bending. And just notice how easy, or maybe there's some tension, so maybe it's not as easy to breathe in this position. And just take a couple of more breaths. So when we're in a yin position, we're kind of moving to our edge, feeling a slight kind of feeling of it's slightly more than we're comfortable with, but it's not painful. So we're just finding the edge of how much we can move into our end range and lateral flexion. And go ahead and release your left leg back to the center. Bring your right leg beside your left leg. Release your left hand and then scoot yourself back to center. And then just take a couple of breaths in this position, noticing how it feels. Noticing that lateral extension of the side ribs, and if you feel a difference left to right after that. And going to the other side, take your left arm out to the side, either just sliding or lifting your head and kind of moving your upper body to increase the C curve in your upper body. And maybe reaching right arm across, catching your right fingers with your left hand. And take your left leg out to the side, and crossing right leg over your left. So finding, it's called in yin bananasana. So that banana or half moon is another name for this pose. And once you find your edge where you're slightly further than you feel comfortable, but no pain, just bring awareness to your breath. Noticing as you come into this slightly deeper version than you're used to, how easy is it to breathe into the bottom of your lungs, the bottom of your rib cage? Can you slow your breath down? Both the inhalation and the exhalation. And go ahead and uncross your right leg, bring it back to center, bring your left leg back, and then bring your arms back. Lower the arms down beside your body and just pause for a moment just to feel the breath. Noticing if you feel more of that even expansion on your side ribs. And then bend your knees, bringing your feet to the floor right below your sit bones. Shift your hips slightly to the right. Bend your left knee, taking your thigh to the ground and your heel towards your right hip. So the knees bent, foot's on the floor. This may not be possible, so just kind of take it in any direction. You may keep this left leg straight as well. If you're able to bend, grab your left foot with your right hand. Start to twist, bringing your right foot over your left knee, taking the inner edge of your foot to the ground, and this may be your twist. You may be able to straighten your right leg out to the side, to the left, and then allow your head, kind of noticing, what does it feel like to drop the head towards the right shoulder? Is that too much on your neck? If so, bring it back to center, or perhaps just drop your head to the left. This is called cat pulling its tail. So your left leg may be straight and your right knee bent and out to the side. You may be that cat that's pulling the tail, which is your left foot. Maybe the right knee is bent, or maybe that leg is straight out to the side. Whatever variation you're in, go ahead and start to expand, again, the breath deep down into the lungs. Feeling that lateral expansion of the rib cage out to the sides. Noticing where you're feeling tension. Can you use the exhalations to kind of soften into those spaces of tension and gripping? Noticing your edges. Noticing where in your body you feel those edges. Is it the spine? Is it the hip? Is it the knee? Consciously moving into those spaces to find more softness. Bring the head back to the center if it's twisted to either way. Bend your right knee, bringing the right foot to the ground. Let go of your left foot. Straighten the left leg. Step right foot over the left thigh. Bring the feet to the floor. Center the hips and just windshield wiper your knees a little side to side. So letting go of the movement or the tension in your spine. And then feet to the floor. Lift your hips and shift them slightly to the left. Bend your right knee, bringing the thigh to the ground. Foot towards your left hip. Take your left hand and grab the front of your right foot if you can. Then bend your left knee towards your chest. Start to twist the left knee towards the right. You can either rest just the left foot on the ground, or you can straighten the leg. Right arms resting comfortably wherever. And then decide what you're going to do with your head. So maybe the head falls off towards the left shoulder. Maybe you keep the head in neutral or dropping it towards your right shoulder. Whenever you find where your cat is comfortably pulling its tail, bring awareness to the breath. So twisting is also one of those times that sometimes it's harder to breathe that lateral expansion into the lungs. Just take several breaths, exploring. Can you find a little bit more space? Keeping the breath soft, quiet, and low. And as you sit in this space, just notice what happens. Are you able to release a little bit more, to find more softness in those spaces where tension resides? And to come out of the pose, if your left leg is straight, go ahead and bend the leg, bringing the foot to the floor. Release your right foot, straighten the right leg. Step your left leg back over your right leg, both feet to the floor, center your hips. And again, feet wide, just windshield wiper your knees side to side. Quick exploration of flexion, bend your knees towards your chest, grabbing the fronts of your shins and then lifting your head off the floor, chin tucked towards your throat. Can you breathe in this flexion? And release, bring the hands beside the hips, press up and just roll over onto your belly. So legs long, interlace your fingers and touch your thumbs together. You're going to rest your forehead between your fingers and your thumbs, so elbows are wide. So we're going to slowly move into extension of the spine. So pressing the pinky edges of the floor into the pinky edges of your hands into the floor. So creating a little bit of stability in the shoulders by pressing the pinky edges of your hands and then your forearms into the floor. Imagine my hand on your sternum, your breastbone, pressing it back towards your spine. So lifting the chest slightly away from the floor, but allowing the head to kind of rest in that crook of your fingers and thumb. Chin drawing up towards your throat. Relax your jaw. Bring your awareness into your breath. So finding lateral expansion of the ribs as you breathe in. And a slow, soft exhale. So take 3 breaths where your inhalation is between a count of 3 and 4, and your exhalation is double whatever the length of your inhalation is. So if you are able to inhale for a count of 3, make your exhalation a count of 6. If you're able to inhale for a count of 4, make your exhalation a count of 8. So keeping your elbows where they are, start to take your head off your hands by drawing your chin up towards your throat. So you're going to be gazing down kind of at your thumb. Keep your elbows where they are and just bring the hands forward, resting the hands on the floor. So gazing slightly forward. Again, imagine my hand on your breastbone, pushing the breastbone back towards your spine. So creating space between the shoulder blades. Shoulders are resting in neutral, so they're neither up towards the ears or down towards your hips, they're just kind of in neutral. So thinking more of that breastbone pushing, keeping the breath count that you used before. Finding lateral expansion with each inhalation, and finding a soft release with each exhalation. Just noticing what this feels like in your back. If this is comfortable and you feel like you can take this higher, come with me. If it's kind of your edge, stay at your edge. Take your hands of where they're in line with your elbows if you feel you want to progress. Press down through your hands and lift your elbows off the floor. Keep your chin drawing towards your throat, so gaze is kind of up between your hands. Again, breastbone is moving back towards your spine, so you're keeping that space between your shoulder blades. Pubic bone presses into the floor, lifting your belly slightly away from the floor, and you're keeping that 1-2 breath count. So lateral expansion for 3 or 4. Exhale, 4, 6, or 8. One more breath. As you exhale, slowly release your elbows to the floor. Stack your hands, rest your forehead on the floor, bend your knees, keeping your knees about hip distance apart, and just kind of shift your hips and your feet side to side. So releasing tension in your lower back, your mid back. And then bring your hands underneath your shoulders, press up, and come into a seated position. So legs are going to be slightly wider than hips, and relax your feet. Bring your thumbs to rest kind of on the inseam of your pants. So we're going to go kind of segmentally. So the first thing, drop your chin towards your chest. Start to round through your upper back as you move your thumbs down the inseam of your pants. So chin is drawing in towards your throat, rounding through your upper back, and then allowing your thumbs to continue to move down as you round through your entire spine. So allowing as you go lower, will your lower back flex? So coming to that point where you feel your edge, and you may feel it in your spine, you may feel it in your hips, you may feel it in your legs. So finding that edge between, if you went a little bit deeper, it'd be too deep. So just hovering on that edge of where you find awareness of the edge, but not going to where you feel pain. And then again, move into the space of your breath. So finding lateral expansion, the bottom of the rib cage with the inhales, a gentle, long exhalation. Just allow yourself to become completely heavy. And notice what happens with that sense of heaviness. Notice what's happening to the breath. So our breath is a reflection of our mind. And when we feel resistance in our breath, it's often due to a resistance in our mind. So can you kind of hover between that? What can I do to become more fluid in my breath? To move through the resistance that I'm feeling in my breath, and what happens to my mind, and then what happens to my body as I move through that.
Maybe you're still working with that 1-2 breath where the inhalation is a 3 or a 4 and the exhalation is double that. And to come out, imagine that you're stacking one vertebrae at a time. So start to lean back with your lower back first. Thumbs are gently coming up the inseam of your leg. Stack up through the low back. Stack up through the mid back. Shoulders rest over the hips. And then head rests over the shoulders. Nice. Bring your hands beside your hips and cross your shins. Hands resting on your knees. So we're going to start to move more into that vinyasa section of the class. So we've opened up our spine by using stillness and the breath to open up into it. So now starting to move a little bit more. So we'll start with flexion and extension. So just gently with the head first. So the cervical, the neck region, just nod your head, chin towards chest, using your nose kind of as that line, only going as far as you can comfortably. So trying to keep the rest of your spine still. So only moving in your neck. So the mid back starts at the top of your neck and goes to about the bottom of your rib cage. So start to bring that section of your spine into it. So you should not feel much movement in your pelvis. So if you feel a lot of rocking on your sit bones, try to minimize the movement only in the rib cage and the neck. So make sure the neck is still a part of it. And then we'll allow it to trickle down into the low back. So now allow the sit bones to rock forward and back as you go into flexion and extension. You might feel the shoulders kind of come into play. Just notice the range that you have. Notice how the breath moves. Notice what feels good and not going to what does not feel good. And come back to center. We'll go into that lateral range. So again, from the neck down is still. Just take your head gently side to side. So this is that range that sometimes can be uncomfortable for people. So just move with awareness. Like, what does your body do? What does the mind tell you you can do? If you move a little slower, can you find a little bit more range? And if not, don't worry about it. And start to bring your mid spine into it. So creating that C curve. Exploring what range is available. Exploring how the breath can change it. And come back to center. Bring your hands to the tops of your hips, so to the waist. This is a section that we don't really think of. So keep everything in line and just tilt to the left. Notice the tendency to create that C curve and resist that. So just keep the spine straight and tilt from the waist. Then bring your left hand to the ground. Palm down, push, now create the C curve. So push the ribs out to the side. Left hand to the back, or left hand to the back of your head. Start to push your head into your hands as you reach the elbow back. So now we're adding that rotation. Take the elbow first, start to turn the head, start to turn the mid spine, taking your elbow as close to your right arm as you can. And then just explore this movement. Feeling it kind of trickle up your spine as you open and kind of trickling down your spine as you close. You might feel a little shifting in your hips. That's fine, but see if you can minimize it a little bit. Next time you come up, stay up. Shift your weight into your right hip. Bring the left leg behind you, resting your left knee and the arch of your right foot. So your foot is by your left hip. Open up a little bit more. Lift the left arm, stretch.
Exhale, twist towards the right. Bring both hands to the ground. Maybe bring the elbows to the ground. Maybe stack your hands and bring your forehead to your hands. Pause here for 3 deep breaths, finding that 1-2 count of the breath, finding lateral expansion with the inhales, and finding that sense of total softness as you exhale. And last breath. And bring the hands to the floor, press up, cross whichever leg was behind, whichever leg was in front, switch the cross of your legs. Hands back to the waist, tilt to the left, straighten out the spine first, so finding it in your lumbar region, your low back region. Take the left hand to the ground. And then push down and now find the C curve. Bring your right hand behind your head. Start by pushing the head into your hand, rotating open a little bit, so a little extension with your twist. And then as you exhale, twist. Start to explore this range of motion. You can use your breath. You can time your breath, or you can just move and not even think about how your breath relates to this. Minimizing how much you're shifting in your sit bones. You will feel it, and that's fine. Just kind of minimize it. Next time you open up, stay open. Switch your leg. So your right knee rests in the arch of your left foot, right foot by your right hip. And then open a little bit more, reach the arm back. As you exhale, twist, bring both hands to the ground. Really find that twist all the way down your spine. And then maybe elbows come to the floor. Maybe you stack your hands and rest your forehead on your hands. Once you find your twist, just start to breathe. Finding lateral expansion, finding nice, slow, quiet, light breaths. Kind of moving back into that yin kind of release. And bring your hands underneath your shoulders, press up, rotate all the way towards the front of your mat and come to hands and knees. Spread your fingers wide, tuck your toes under, and just move through cat and cow as you normally would. So we've already done a lot to warm up the spine, so maybe feeling how your spine articulates in this flexion and extension. Exploring rib expansion with your breath. And here. And the next time you bring your ribs down, stay down. Slight tone of your lower belly. Push your rib cage out to the right. Your head and your hips will move to the left. And then move through cat pose, rounding your spine, head, tailbone drop. Push your ribs out to the left, head and tailbone move to the right. And then come back, belly towards the floor. Start to move in these circles in your own. We're going to do 3 circles to the right. Feeling your head and your tailbone move the opposite direction that your ribs do. And then the next time you come into the cat pose, stay there. Push your ribs out to the left, head and tailbone to the right. Move your rib cage down, head and tailbone up. Push your ribs to the right. And then continue this rotation for several cycles. So we're kind of putting all the moves together. We have flexion, extension, we have lateral flexion, and we have some rotation. Come back to center, tuck the toes under, lift the knees off the floor, start to press the hips up and back as you lift the knees further off the floor. Start with knees bent, so we're in downward facing dog. Press hands down, twist them out, and push them in towards each other. So stabilize the shoulders. Come way up onto your toes.
Move towards straightening your legs as you press the fronts of your thighs back. Start to gently lower the heels towards the floor as you're able. Knees can have a slight bend in them. Gently draw the front of the rib cage towards your hips. And then lift back up onto your toes. Bend your knees deeply, resting your belly on your thighs. So you're creating flexion in your lower back by pulling the belly off the thighs. And then keep that as you tippy toe to the front of the mat. Try to create flexion as you tippy toe. When you can't stay on your hands, lift up to fingertips, hands between, or feet between your hands, knees bent. Drop the head towards the floor. Bring the fingertips to your hip creases. Reach the elbows towards the sky. Keep the knees bent and stack one vertebrae on top of the next as you come up to standing. Feet are about hip distance apart. I'm going to move my camera so you can see me. Feet are about hip distance apart. Bring your hands to heart center. Bend your knees, so we're coming into chair pose. Peel the front of your hip points off your thighs, lower ribs in, hands at heart. Drop your head towards your chest. Push your arms forward as you round your mid back. As you inhale, bring your hands towards your heart. Open your hands, elbows out to the side. Lift your head, lift the top of your collarbones, lower ribs stay in. Hands together, round forward. So we're creating flexion and extension in your mid back and upper spine. So just moving between flexion as you push head forward and upper back. And then extension as you open your arms, lifting head and the top of the collarbones, lower ribs stay down and in. One more time, push it forward. Draw the hands in, open. Bring the hands behind your head. So you're still in that chair pose if you can sustain it, lower ribs in and side bend. So going to either side, creating that C curve in your mid back. Next time you come to the right, round through, come up to the left, and then come back through center to the right. Are you feeling it in your thighs? I am. One more time to the right. One more time to the left. Come back through center, reach both arms over your head. Keep your legs straight. Take your head towards your chest, arms beside your body. Start to roll down, knees will bend as you roll. Let the flexion happen all the way through your spine. Hands come down the front of your shins. Grab your opposite elbow. Crown of the head moving towards the floor, side to side. Just kind of sway side to side. Hips stay still, finding, again, that lateral side bend. And then maybe open up a little bit more, finding rotation. Taking, when you go to the left side, right elbow forward. As you come to the right side, left elbow forward. Good. Release hands. Bring your hands to your shins right below your knees. Draw chin towards throat, lift up halfway. Tilt your hips back so that your belly button is directly over your feet. Reach the arms back, lower ribs in, chin in. So finding stabilization in your spine. Bring the arms out to the side if you can, T to the body. Maintaining this, bring your arms towards your ears or just keep them wherever you can maintain stability. Exhale, hands to the floor, fold forward. Find that flexion all the way into your lower back, head reaching towards the floor.
Inhale, either hands to shins or hands stay on the floor. Knees bent or straight. Step back into plank pose, or knees can be on the floor. Tuck your chin towards your chest, round all the way back through your spine, coming into downward facing dog. Shift the weight to your left foot, reach your right leg up and back into three-legged dog. Bend your knee towards your chest, look up between your hands and round through your spine. So flexion, find that cat pose here. Step your right foot up between your hands. Drop your left knee to the ground. Fingertips to the floor. Inhale, reach your arms up and over your head. Turn to face the long edge of your mat. So your knees bent, chest faces the long edge of your mat. Straighten your right leg out to the side. Bring your hands to your waist. Side bend towards your right leg. So pushing the hip in, so you're finding that lateral in the low back. Bring your hands behind your head. Find the C curve of your mid-spine. Maybe arms stay where they are. Maybe you reach left arm beside your ear, grabbing your left wrist with your right and gaze up towards the sky. You may also bring your right hand to rest on your right shin. Breathe. Gaze down towards your right leg. Bend your right knee as you turn the toes to point the long edge, the front edge of your mat. Left toes reach back, bend forward. Lift your left knee off the ground. Press down through your right foot. Inhale, reach your arms over your head. So coming up into high lunge. Turn your head towards your right shoulder. Start to twist, reaching right arm back, left arm forward. Hug your right hip in. So pulling your right sit bone towards your left inner thigh. Side bend, bringing your left hand to rest inside of your right foot, either to the floor or a block. Reach your right hand underneath, grab your left rib cage and rotate your left rib cage more. Bring your hand behind your head, rotate your head and neck. Reach right arm up and behind you. So finding rotation in your spine. See if you can breathe still into your rib cage, so keeping it low and slow. Turn your head to look down at your right foot. Lower your right hand on the outside of your right foot. Step your left foot up about a footprint, lowering the heel to the ground. Keep your right knee bent. Press down or move your blocks on either side of your right foot. Press down through your right foot and stand up. Square your hips towards the front edge of your mat. Both legs start out straight. Take your hands behind your back. So resting right in the midst of your low back. Press through your back heel. So straighten your back leg, super strong. Start to arch your lower back over your hands. Lower ribs stay down and in. Start to lift your collarbones up. Keep your chin tucked as you start to lift your eyes, your nose. So the back of your neck stays long as you come into extension. Tuck the chin, look forward, lift up. Hands to your heart. Keep pressing through your back foot. Keep pressing through your front foot. Knee can stay straight or bent. Hinge from your hip crease, front hip crease, as you fold halfway. So really pressing down through both of your feet. Hips move back, lower ribs in, expand with your inhalations. Chin stays tucked, reach to the crown of the head. So spinal stability, this is that axial extension. Start to lower the hands, round through your lower back first, then rib cage tucks, hands to the blocks, tuck your chin. Once you're in that flexion, start to reach the crown of your head towards your right foot.
So now finding that axial extension as you stretch your spine long. Keep the legs strong by pressing through the feet. Imagine you could squeeze your inner thighs together. You'll feel the hips kind of neutralize with that kia. Press down through your right foot, bend your right knee. Move the blocks off to either side. Step the left foot back more. Take the right foot back. Either bending knees to the floor or staying in plank pose. Reach to the crown, reach to the tailbone, and lower down chaturanga. Lower the hips to the floor, forehead to the floor, hands beside your hips. Lift feet, lift hands, lift shoulders, lift chest, Shalabhasana. Hands underneath the shoulders, tuck the toes, press up either through hands and knees or plank and back to down dog. Shift the weight into the right foot. Inhale, reach your left leg up and back, three-legged dog. Come up onto your right toes, gaze between your hands. Bend your knee around your spine, taking your knee towards your nose. And then step your left foot up between your hands. Drop your right knee to the ground. Inhale, reach your arms over your head, arms beside your ears, lower ribs down and in. Take your right foot behind you as you square your chest towards the long edge of your mat. Straighten your left leg out to the side. Hands behind your head, left hand in the hip and the waist. Start to side bend, so finding that lateral bend just in the low back. Then hands behind your head, find the C curve. Either staying here or straighten both arms, grabbing your right wrist with your left hand or hand to the leg. Turn your head forward, lift up. Bend your left knee as you shift back towards the front edge of your mat. Fold forward, hands on either side of your left foot. Tuck your right toe under, lift the back knee. Lift the inner thigh towards the sky. Press down through your left foot. Rise up. Turn your head to the left. Reach, left arm behind you, right arm forward. Hug outer left hip in. Start to side bend, bringing your right hand to rest either to the floor or a block inside of your left foot. Reach, left arm under. Grab your right rib cage, twist a little deeper. Reach arm up to the ear, gaze under your left arm. Turn your head, look down at your left foot. Hands rest on either side of your left foot. Step your right foot up about a footprint. Bring the blocks on either side of your left foot. Left knee can either be bent or straight. Press down, lift up to standing. Hands come behind the back, resting in your lower back. Press really strongly through your back foot. Lower ribs down and in. Start to arch over your hands with your low back. Then lift your collarbones towards your chin. Keep your chin tucked, reach the crown of the head back as you gaze up towards the sky. Tilt the head up, lift up, hands to heart. Press down through both feet strongly. Left hip crease draws back as you start to hinge forward. Ribs drawing down and in. Chin tucked, reach to the crown of the head. Super strong legs, so pressing down through both feet. Start to round through your lower back first. And then start to round through your mid back, hands to the blocks. Round chin to chest. And then start to stretch your spine, reaching the crown of your head towards the foot. Knee can be straight or bent. Keep pressing feet down. Imagine you are scissoring your inner thighs together, outer hips squeezing in. Press down through the blocks. Lift spine parallel to the floor. Bend your left knee. Blocks off to the sides of your mats, hands to the floor. Step either to plank or lower knees to the ground. Reach through the tailbone, reach to the crown of the head. Lower down chaturanga. Belly to the floor, head to the floor. Hands reach back. Feet lift. Hands lift, shoulders lift, head, chest lift, Shalabhasana. Hands underneath the shoulders. Tuck the toes, either pressing up through hands and knees or press up plank and down dog. Breathe. Take a short break in child's pose. So lower your knees to the floor. Knees wide, toes touch. Press your hips back towards your heels, resting either forehead on your hands or forehead on the floor. Taking a moment to slow down your breath. We're going to move through this same sequence 2 more times. We're going to take a little less time in each pose. So moving more with that vinyasa flow. Listening to your body, listening to your own edges, and doing what you feel your spine is in need of. So stretch the arms forward. Elbows off the floor, kind of crawl your fingers further forward, feeling that stretch in your side body, reaching your hips in the opposite direction. Inhale, shift forward to tabletop. Tuck your toes under, press up and back into downward facing dog. Lower ribs in, stretch your spine. Shift your weight to your left foot. Inhale, reach your right leg up and back. We're going to do a little extension here. So kick your heel towards your left hip, knee reaches up towards the sky. So a little extension and rotation. Inhale, straighten the right leg, square the hips, come up onto your left toes. Round through your spine as you bring knee to nose. Step right foot up between your hands. Lower left knee to the ground. Keep your toes tucked. Inhale, reach your arms over your head. Shift towards the long edge of your mat. Arms come out to the side. Straighten right leg out to the side. Center your hips, so square your hips. Inhale, reach your arms over your head. Grab your left wrist or take your hands behind your head. Side bend. So finding that side bend in the low back and then mid back. Head looks under your left arm. Inhale, reach up, arms come over your head. Turn the right foot out, bend the knees, shift. Hands on either side of your right foot. Left toe tucked, lift your left knee. Inhale, rise up, arms come over your head. You're going to twist in all one movement. So hug the hips in, start to twist. Lower back, mid back, neck. Right arm reaches forward, left arm or back, left arm reaches forward. Side bend, left hand to the floor. Rotate lower back, mid back, neck, arm to ear. Lift left thigh, so keep the back leg strong. Gaze down at your right foot, hand beside your right foot. Step left foot up. Either blocks on either side of your foot, knee bent or straight, lift all the way up, arms up. Press down through your feet, square your hips, hands behind your back. Keep the legs strong, arch back, low back, chest, head. Inhale, head lifts, chest, hands to heart. Start to fold forward halfway. Press down through your feet, hips, reach back and hug in. Start to fold, low back, mid back, hands to floor, block. Stretch the spine, head towards your foot. Take a breath. Legs stay strong. Press down, lift up halfway. Hands on either side of your front foot. Step back to plank. Either lowering knees, chest, chin, or all the way down, chaturanga. You're gonna come up into cobra or up dog. So scoop head, chest forward and up, lift. Press back, downward facing dog. So it looks like we're only gonna be able to do this one time. Shift your weight to your left foot. Inhale, reach your right foot. Inhale, reach your left leg up and back. Bend the knee, kick the heel to the opposite hip, reach the knee, rotate and extend. Square the hips, straighten the leg. Come up onto your right toes. Round through your spine, bend knee to nose. Step foot up between your hands. Lower back knee. Inhale, reach arms over your head. Lower ribs down and in. Open up towards the long edge of your mat. Straighten left leg out to the side. Hands either behind your head or grab your wrist. Side bend in the lower back first. And then start to find that C curve all the way up as you look under your right arm. Inhale, rise up. Turn. As you bend your left knee, fold. Hands on either side of your left foot. Lift your right knee off the ground. Inner right thigh drawing up. Press through your left foot. Rise up. Start to twist. Lower back, mid back, neck, arms stretch. Left arm reaches back, right arm reaches forward. Side bend. Bring right hand inside of left foot. Rotate lower back, rib cage, head, arm to ear. Hug left hip in. Gaze down at your left foot, hands on either side of your left foot. You can move the blocks if you need them. Step right foot up a footprint, heel towards the ground. Front knee bent or straight, press down to rise up, arms over the head. Sweep the hands behind your low back. Press the feet down, square the hips, start to arch back, low back, chest. Chin drawing up towards the throat as you gaze up. Turn the head forward, lift up, hands to heart. Hips reach back as you fold forward. Spine parallel to the floor. Find the strength in the hips. Find the stability in the spine. Then start to round your lower back, mid back, neck. Stretch the spine long. Hands to the floor, the blocks. Reach head towards your foot. Slow down your breath. Press down through the hands on the floor of the block. Lift up halfway. And bend your left knee deeper. Blocks off to the side. Step back. Either moving through one more vinyasa or go straight to downward facing dog and breathe. So moving the breath into the sides of your ribs. Trying to make the breath a little quieter, a little lower, a little slower. Drop your knees to the floor, knees wide, toes touch. Press back into child's pose. Continue to slow down your breath. And shift forward to tabletop. Cross your ankles. Sit your hips behind your heels. Stretch your legs long out in front of you. So at the beginning, we did legs not working. This time we're going to use our legs. So pull your toes towards your head. Press the backs of your knees into the floor. Shift forward onto your sit bones and reach your arms forward. So one final spinal flexion. Chin towards throat. Start to round your upper back, pushing it back. And then start to round through your lower back. Breathe slowly as you lower down one vertebrae at a time. Chin stays tucked the whole time. Once you find the floor, roll down, feeling one vertebrae touch at a time. Finally, allowing the head to relax. Bend your knees, feet wide, hands out to the side. Just a simple windshield wiper of the knees side to side. Feeling it trickle up your spine, releasing any remaining tension or gripping in the spine. And when you are ready, release your legs long to the ground. Arms down beside your body, palms face up. Find length in the back of your neck. And come into that slow, low, quiet breath. Notice your breath. Notice where your breath is naturally moving into your body. Where do you feel it? When we work with the spine, we create more space all the way from the lower back, all the way up to the chest. And oftentimes the breath remains high in the chest because of lack of movement and the lower and mid back. So do you feel more of a natural flow of the breath into your low back, into your side ribs? And if you don't, that's okay. Just notice. Notice your mind. And notice how your body feels. And slowly bend your knees and roll onto your side body. Using your hands and your arms, keep your head heavy. Continue with that kind of slow lift as you use your hands and arms to stack your spine up from the lower back through the mid back. Shoulders resting above your hips. Chin slightly drawing in to create space in the back of your neck. Hands to heart center. Notice your breath as you sit. Thank you so much for making this time to spend with me.
to spend in community